Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to be doing a wear test using the new Chanel foundation. This is called the Red Camellia Revitalizing Foundation. Now I believe it comes in 20 different shades and it is not only available through the Chanel website and their boutiques, but also now at Ulta. So online through Ulta.com and as well as in stores. I don't believe all stores are carrying Chanel yet, but the ones near me are, and it is so exciting. So I picked up the shade BD31. This is all I've picked up from this new line, which is the Red Camellia line. They did have some new pods that actually look something like this. They look really pretty. So it's actually like a tinted lip that you can also use on your cheeks. I swatched a few of them and honestly I was just a little underwhelmed. I felt like the consistency was going to be maybe a little bit too tacky for the cheeks, like there wasn't going to be an actual dry down. So I'm not a fan of having like tacky cheeks, so I decided to skip on that. For the lips, I just felt like, I don't know, for me it just really wasn't my thing. So this is all I've picked up. Now they also recently released their summer collection for 2022. Super exciting. I have only picked up one item from that collection. I don't think I'm gonna get anything else. I was hoping the blush would get here early today, but it hasn't, and I wanted to film because I do want to do a wear test with this foundation. So you'll see the blush that I did pick up in an upcoming video. But anyway, here is the foundation we'll be using today. It is a frosted bottle. It looks really nice and luxurious. I think I already mentioned the shade I got, but in case I didn't, it's BD31. It's the same shade I have in this foundation, which by the way, I used this one yesterday. It's the All Day Wear Comfort Flawless Finish Foundation. This wears so beautifully. So I decided to go with the same shade in this one. Now I did go in store to pick mine up, and when I swatched it, a little bit, you guys, is going to go a long way. Now as far as coverage, I don't know, it seems like it's a very lightweight. It almost seemed like the coverage was going to be sheer, though it does say that it is buildable. So let me actually read the description that's on the box. Okay, so it says here, enriched with red camellia oil, this moisturizing fluid foundation helps protect skin from external aggressors and maintain a youthful appearance. It also helps soften skin and provide all-day comfort. With continued use, the complexion appears more beautiful and radiates with a youthful glow. Luminous finish, buildable coverage. So I am very interested to see how much we'll be able to build this up. As per usual, I have quite a bit to cover up, so I usually do like to go with a foundation that's medium to full coverage. A lot of the times, depending on how much hyperpigmentation I have, I don't mind going in with a concealer to spot conceal, but as you can see, I have quite a bit, so I'm looking forward to a foundation that's going to help me minimize the appearance of all of this. So let's see what this does. Now this is an extremely liquidy foundation. I made a mess at the store. I was kind of embarrassed. So I just removed the cap. It is a pump. You guys, I'm like really happy with the packaging of this. I know it's quite simple, but it's really pretty. I feel like the number 1 in red there just kind of really adds a nice touch to this bottle. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, sometimes the little things that matter. All right, so I'm gonna place some of this in my glass palette. And then do you see how quickly that's running there? So that was about a pump and a half, I would say. I feel like that first pump wasn't much. Now, for something that is this thin in formula, this liquidy, oh, you know what? It actually doesn't seem... it almost feels like a serum, actually. I felt like yesterday in the store, it was extremely sheer. So I wonder, did I not shake up the tester that well? All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and apply some. Now, I am still dealing with the parosmia, so my sense of smell is completely off still, so I can't really say what this smells like. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of like the Chanel makeup fragrance, but I'm not sure if that's actually right. Okay, so I think I tried to start saying earlier that for a foundation that has this kind of consistency, I prefer to go in with a brush. I feel like a sponge is just really going to soak up a lot of the foundation. It's going to really sheer it out, and that's not what I'm looking for. But if you like a sheer coverage, you may want to go in with a sponge. But I'll be using my little brush here. And I'm just adding a little bit more than what I already had applied. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to prime my face. Okay, I'm gonna prime one side of my face. Do you guys prime your face before applying foundation? I know a lot of people are kind of against primer. Not that they're against it, but you know, they just feel like they don't need it. I am one that does feel like I need it, so I'm gonna prime my right side. But you know what? I'm actually really happy with that coverage. So this is close to a medium coverage, I would say. It looks like it is definitely buildable. I will add another layer just to see what kind of coverage I can actually build it up to. But I'm impressed with the coverage. It feels, I mean, I don't know, I just applied it. It feels very lightweight. I feel like I say that with most foundations. I don't usually feel that it's heavy right away. It's usually throughout the day as I'm wearing it that I feel like, okay, I feel like I'm actually wearing a mask right now. But as far as first impressions, like initial application, it feels very light on the skin. It feels very natural as well. I want this to kind of settle into my skin before I go in with a second layer. So for now, let me prime the right side of my face. I cannot believe I forgot my face primer, honestly. All right, so today I'm gonna use my Veil Hourglass Primer. This is such an amazing primer. I stopped using it for a while, and then I kind of forgot about it until I started doing freelancing again, and it's what I used on most of my clients, and it's just such a beautiful primer. Now, in a way, I do feel like it's unfair to do half and half with my skin, because one side of my face is always a little bit more drier, and because I do have a lot of acne on this side, I just feel like it's not going to be a fair comparison. But we'll see as far as like the oils and just kind of how it wears, testing it out like this. I don't know, we'll see. We will see if there's a huge difference. Okay, so I actually didn't even finish with the pump and a half that I had initially applied, so I'm going to go ahead and pick this up and just give my primer a little bit of time to work into the skin. So I'm going to work the rest of this foundation onto my left side just to layer it up. Okay, that added just a tiny bit more coverage, not much more. I'm not going to keep building this up because then I just feel like it defeats the purpose of what the foundation is meant to be like. So I'm going to leave it like this, but I'm kind of happy with how it looks. It looks very natural. There's a little bit, just a little tiny bit of radiance. But it looks good, I think. So, okay, so that was about a pump and a half. So I'm gonna try to pump out about the same for the other side, for my right side, though. On my right side, I don't need as much coverage, but it's fine. So this spreads very, very nicely. It doesn't immediately dry down onto your skin, so you do have some time to work with it. Okay, now on my nose, it is kind of taking a little bit more work to get it to blend and sit properly. At least using the brush. So I'm just gonna go in with my finger and kind of tap. But I think it is because of the consistency. It's a little serum-like, not in a thick, heavy way, but in a lighter way. But it does remind me a little bit of that consistency. All right, so I'm gonna leave it like this. I think it looks good. I still have not too much, but a tiny bit of the foundation left here on my palette. So I would say, depending on the coverage that you're looking for, you can go from just using one pump of this to about 3 or maybe even 4. I think 4 is going to maybe be pushing it, but yeah, a little bit does go a long way. The rep saw me at the store yesterday apply some on the back of my hand, and like I said, it was extremely liquidy. It felt just so much more liquidy than it did today. And like I said, I made a mess. And he was like, yeah, you only need a little bit of that. You just pumped out enough for your entire arm. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I dropped bottles. I don't know what I was doing. I was a hot mess yesterday. I hadn't been in a store in a while. So I think I was just like nervous for being out soon. I was like, sorry, you're getting too close to me. Move. But anyway, this looks really good so far, I think. Like I said, you can definitely still see. Actually, let me bring you guys in closer. Oops, I always go the wrong way first. All right, so you can still see some of my redness pulling through here. Honestly, I expected that to be the case. I mean, it's just kind of the skin that I'm dealing with, so it is what it is. But on this side, it definitely looks much more even. I have a spot right here, hyperpigmentation there, so it didn't quite cover that. But honestly, kind of for an everyday use, even to go out, honestly, I still use foundations that are not full coverage unless it's like a real special occasion. Then I do try to go full glam. But usually a foundation like this, I'm fine with, as long as, like I said, I'm able to build up a little bit with my concealer. So I think it's definitely going to depend. As of right now, my thoughts are that it's just going to depend on how my skin is doing that day, or whether or not I will use this foundation. But I'm happy with how it looks. I mean, can it look any more natural? I don't think so. You can't really tell at all that I'm wearing any makeup. And the shade match I actually think is pretty good. Let me grab some of what was left here so I can swatch on the back of my hand. So that is BD31 right there. And yeah, you can actually even see a beautiful luminosity on my hand there. I am going to finish the rest of my makeup. I am going to powder. I'll be using, I'm gonna have to grab it. I'll be using my Huda Beauty Easy Bake loose powder. That is my favorite go-to loose powder to set my face. If I don't, I just feel like I'm not doing the foundation justice for the type of skin that I have. I just feel like I'm going to set it up for failure if I don't do that, because I already know my T-zone gets extremely oily, and I always have to set my under eyes. So I might as well do my makeup as I typically would. So once I'm done with all of that, I'll come back to show you guys how everything is looking. I am going to probably apply a little bit of concealer where I need a little bit more of that coverage. So let me go do that, and then I'll be back in a moment. Alright guys, so it is about an hour later. It took me a little bit because I took a break before finishing my eye makeup to eat something. I hadn't had breakfast yet. But yeah, this is how we're looking. I am pretty happy with how everything is going so far. I mean, it's only been an hour. I was a little bit afraid, especially after I powdered this area here, and this happens to me quite a bit, especially with like pimples that I get up here, like closer to the top of my cheekbones. Those get really shiny and they become very difficult to conceal. So there was a point where I just felt like it wasn't going to wear very well in this area. But then when I went in with the blush, I used this is actually a new shade from Rare Beauty. It's their liquid blush. I have the shade Believe. I love this shade. I've had it for about a month already, and it's just a really beautiful blush, very long lasting. It is matte and it's very pigmented, and I think it just really helped with just concealing the color of my breakouts here. Now, of course, that right there looks a little bit shiny. Let's just try to ignore that. I'm going to guess that that little area right there is going to get worse throughout the day, but the rest of my face I think looks really good. It still looks very natural. There's a light glow to the skin, which helps makes the skin look healthy. So far so good. I am a little afraid that I'm going to get oily with this foundation because of the formula, because of its consistency, because of the glow that it's providing. I just feel like, I don't know. You know what, let me try to be positive because so far, like I said, so far so good. So I might need to blot at some point, but we'll see. I'm gonna wait about 3 to 4 more hours to come back and do a check-in and see how everything is looking. But I did want to point out that I used that matte blush as well as a matte bronzer so that I don't get any type of glow from anything else, and whatever I do get is strictly from the foundation, so I can kind of gauge better as to how I'm going to be able to wear the foundation. I mean, let me actually scoot you guys in more in case you're interested. Okay, getting the right way. And these hairs, always hairs. So yeah, so that is how that is looking. It doesn't look heavy. It feels really comfortable. There's just really not that much to say at this point because it has only been about an hour, but like I said, in a few more hours we'll do another check-in and see how everything is going. If I have to blot, I'm going to blot. That's just kind of how I do things. Oh, and I also did want to point out I did not add any highlight either, again just to avoid any luminosity from other products. Just want to see what the foundation does pretty much on its own as far as the glowiness or the oiliness that I end up accumulating. Alright guys, I'm back. It has been exactly 5 hours since I first applied the foundation, and so far I don't think it's looking horrible. Now granted, I am quite oily. This is just how I get anyway. Very few foundations don't have me looking like this by the 5-hour mark, so I'm not too surprised. I'm actually quite happy with how it's looking, besides of course, you know, especially right here on the sides of the nose, it's looking quite oily there, and then here in the center, well, really my T-zone where I typically do get oily, but there's been no separation. You can still see my bronzer and my blush, which by the way, you guys, I apologize, I accidentally lied earlier. The blush, the Rare Beauty blush in the shade Believe is not matte. I thought it was matte. It actually has a radiant finish, so my bad, but it still looks good over this foundation. Yeah, I'm liking how everything's looking, of course, besides the oiliness that I have. So I'm going to blot real quick, and then I'm going to show you how the makeup is holding up, if I can still wear it for a few more hours. Alright, so this is how everything is looking. I think it looks great still, honestly. All I did was do a little bit of blotting, and I think the makeup is still looking intact, still looks really good. It just looks a little bit more fresh now that I've blotted a little bit. As far as there being a difference between the side that I did not prime my face and the side that I did, I'm honestly not noticing much of a difference. You guys can let me know if you see a difference or not, but so far I'm pretty happy with how this foundation is performing, so we will see. I mean, I'm just happy that I really haven't lost coverage. Maybe just a little bit here on my nose. It's very typical for me to lose coverage around my nose and around my chin, but not much. I mean, maybe there's been a minimal loss there, but not where I would complain at all. So yeah, let me wear this for a few more hours. I will come back tonight before I wash my face so we can see together how this foundation performs for an all-day wear, and conclude with my final thoughts on the first impressions of the new Chanel foundation. Okay guys, we are back for the final check-in. It is currently 8:43 p.m. so I've had on this foundation for over 9 hours, and you know, I'm pretty happy with it. Now granted, I'm oily in my T-zone, not as bad as I was at the 5-hour mark, but that was a 5-hour mark, right? The last one that I did. Not quite as bad, but still to the point where I would want to blot again. I'm just not going to anymore. I'm going to wash my face any moment. So I'm gonna scoot you guys in again just to see how the makeup is looking. I feel like it might have worn off just a little bit. especially where I do have my blemishes. Usually that is where I end up losing some coverage, and usually around the nose and the chin. But I don't think that I lost any more from my last check-in. So I don't know, what do you guys think? I mean, so far I'm quite impressed with the foundation. Considering the coverage that it provided, it really truly is a buildable foundation. So I think that's great because it's going to work for a multitude of preferences, and the wear is pretty good as well. So far I am liking this. Now, do I love it? I think it is a little bit too soon to profess my love for this foundation, but I am going to continue playing with it. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I do want to do a follow-up video, maybe a video towards the end of the month where I talk about all the makeup that I've used and provide some updates as to how I feel about those products after trying them out longer, because today really was a first impression, so it's hard to tell you guys for sure how I feel, but so far I'm happy and I hope it continues this way. Alright guys, so that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time.